everybody, this is Julissa. Today I'm going to speak about something that happened nearly 15 years ago, and I cannot believe it's been that long, and to this day we still don't have an answer or a suspect in custody about this, right? So today I'm going to speak about the shooting that happened at a Lane Bryant store, and this happened, like I said, 14 years ago. It's going to be 15 years this February, coming up in 2023, right? Today is November 13, 2022, and this is going to be 15 years in February. And like I said, it's so crazy because I don't know anybody who was affected by this, but this shooting that happened, but somehow I feel so connected to it. Okay, so let me explain why. So this happened at a Lane Bryant store, and in case you guys didn't know that about me, when I was in college, I worked at Lane Bryant here in my hometown in Danbury, Connecticut. I worked there, and it was my seasonal job, right? So every time I would come home from for school break, they had my job open for me, which was a great way, for me to make income before the school year started again up in the fall. And even I would come for a month and a half or something for Christmas break, and they will have my job open. So I love, I love the clothing, I love the brand, okay, and I love having the opportunity to work there and have that job open for me every time I was around, right? Every time I came home for break, summer break, Christmas break, whatever. And they were so kind to allow me to do that. And I had the discount, and I would sell the brand to the customers, and it was just great. I really like working at Lane Bryant, I have to be honest. And when I learned about this shooting that happened, okay, and this happened in Chicago, in Tinley Park in Chicago, right, I immediately felt connected to it because how can this happen? Okay, so let me just give you my perspective, being an ex-employee, a former employee for Lane Bryant, right? I knew when I was working there, even though I was very young, and I was, my college days and whatever, right? I knew they didn't have cameras, and I knew a lot of the times only two people were necessary to be in the store, right? You usually will have like a manager and a sales associate, right? And I think back then they used to call the sales associates, like somebody like myself, a style expert, right? And I remember when I applied and got the job, and I'm like, oh, you guys are calling me a style expert? They're like, oh yeah, that's what we call our sales associates. And I just felt so great about it. I was wearing the brand, and I was selling the brand, and it's I was getting stuff for discount, clothing for back to school and all of that stuff. And I really liked working there. And I remember I got hired basically on the spot, right? And I knew that they didn't have security cameras though, but a lot of the items, I remember when it was like a slow day, we just had like a truck that came in or freight to do, and me being the cashier and being attendant to the fitting rooms, they will give us like a batch of merchandise to kind of like put tagging on them and just organize it, right? I also participated during inventory, and I remember my sister came one time and helped us for inventory days, and it was such a great team, right? Everybody. It was a great team, but it was very like a slim team. Like it was very small, because basically as long as there was two people all the time at the store, it wasn't like 20 associates that worked there. I don't even know, like maybe 10. I know there was a store manager and two other managers. One was for the weekend, and the other one was like a full-time manager, and it was just maybe like 5 other associates like myself, cashiers and fitting room attendants and greeter, who basically worked there. So you kind of knew everybody, right? And I never felt that the store was insecure. It was inside a mall, right? Here in the Danbury Mall, and it was inside the mall. I never felt like it was insecure. One thing happened, and I gotta say this before I go and speak about the shooting that happened at this Lane Bryant store in Tinley Park. One thing though that happened one day, it was Saturday night. We were closing. It was me, my manager, and another associate. Saturday night is usually a big night for stores like that. For any store at the mall, like basically, at least back back then when I used to work there. And we were closing, and I remember, I used to work during the day because I was on vacation for schools. I was just like, I think, covering somebody that day. And I remember, we were closing. We pulled the gate down, right? And we still had customers in the store. And I remember my manager kindly said to her, because this lady came in and started trying stuff on, like maybe 10 minutes before we were closing. She's like, oh yeah, open the fitting room, get me this stuff, get me the other. Man, it was Saturday night, it was the end of the day, and this lady wanted to take her time trying stuff on. My manager said, kindly, she kind of said to her, we're kind of getting ready to close, so kind of like, whatever you decide, and just let us know right away, because we're almost, they were announcing over the head that the mall was closing soon. So she was taking her time, and she got offended by it. And I remember that was the only time that I felt kind of like some type of like, wow, we need like security here. This lady got upset and she left the store really angry, and we were like, okay, well, she left now. So my manager, I was cleaning the fitting rooms, my manager pulled the gate and locked the door, and she was counting the money. The other person that was there with us, the other associate, she was cleaning probably the mirrors, and I was cleaning, putting stuff back from the fitting room. And then we noticed that the lady came back with her boyfriend, and they were outside waiting for my manager and threatening her and saying, yeah, I'm gonna talk to her, because don't ever speak to my fiance or my girlfriend like that. She was just shopping, you don't talk to her like that. And these people, we had to wait for them to leave so that we can leave. And it's kind of weird, because when you work at a mall, it's closing time, you see everybody from the other stores kind of walking by and leaving, right? And you're like trying to get on the same type of timing with them. You're like, oh my goodness, the children's play store across the way just closed, they're already leaving. And then the people next to us, they already left immediately, right? But then we waited and waited, and the time was passing by, and man, these people were still by the gate. And we're like, let's call more security, we can't leave the store. These people are like waiting for my store manager to, I don't know, to do what, right? And then what eventually happened was they eventually left, right? And then we were able to leave the store safely. But that was, I guess you can say, the only time that I felt some type of weird, because I'm like, wow, we're so vulnerable, right? And like I said, this is inside the mall. Like, I don't know if we ended up calling mall security, but this was inside the mall. I'm sure if mall security was available, they would have come, the police would have come, and it would have created like a huge thing, right? They eventually left. Nothing, we never heard nothing back from them, and whatever, right? They left. And I went home, whatever. But then when I look at the case of what happened at Tinley Park, it really touches me, because this store was located in a strip mall, right? It was like a big plaza that had like stores, and the big parking lot in the front, and then the store entrance is right there. And to know that, in case you didn't know, so let me tell you exactly what happened, just to give you kind of like a background. This happened on February 2nd, 2008. Like I said, 14 years ago. The shooting happened. It was an armed robbery at a Lane Bryant clothing outlet in Brookside Marketplace in Tinley Park, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. The shooter walked in there dressed as a delivery man, right? How scary is that? Because like I said, when I work in Lane Bryant at the mall, we used to have deliveries all the time, right? And a lot of the times, UPS will come and bring like 5 huge boxes. That was the new inventory, and they usually will come towards the back, because the mall has kind of like like tunnels, ways, and they will come and deliver towards the back. If they had just one box to deliver, they will come towards the front entrance, and usually will be during the day, not like early morning. Like, they will not come right when we open. The delivery usually will come maybe around 12 or something like that. I remember that because a lot of the times they were busy, like we were busy, and they needed signature, right? And I could be like, let me open the door real quick for this lady for the fitting room, I'll sign for you in a minute. And then my manager will be ringing customers at the register. So that's how I know, like, a lot of the times our delivery, will come when we were busy, right? Because they always needed a signature. At least, they used to do that back then. And we will say, just give me a second, somebody's on lunch, and I'm finishing up this order or something. Or sometimes you will say to the customer, let me just sign for him real quick because he just delivered something. That's how I remember that they will come during busy times. But the strange thing that happened at this Lane Bryant shooting in Tinley Park, which is what I'm talking about today, was that this delivery man came right when they opened. And usually the store like Lane Bryant will open between 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., right? But when we were at the mall, we open mall hours, right? And so this guy comes dressed as a delivery guy, and immediately the store manager, which her name was Rhoda McFarland, she's the store manager, and this is how crazy it is because she was off that day, but she knew it was a busy Saturday. They just putting out promotions for a big sale, so she wanted to help the crew, right, her staff. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna work Saturday, or maybe come in for a little bit. Sometimes some of my managers will do that. A lot of the times, especially if we were short staffed, but they will come in and leave by 12 or something just to kind of help with the morning rush. But it wasn't something that you see all the time, right? So by the fact that Rhoda McFarland, excuse me, that she was the store manager for the Tinley Park store, the fact that she made the effort to come on a Saturday says a lot about who she was and the personality and how much she cares for Lane Bryant, right? And so she was there and she saw the delivery man come up and say, I have a delivery. And then she was not expected, because one thing is this, right? From working at Lane Bryant, you know what's coming, right? Like there's floor planning that goes along, like, and my manager will be like, oh man, next week we're getting 20 boxes, of new merchandise. Can you work this day or something? So store managers can totally relate, because you kind of know the schedule of a store, what's being delivered, what's the new items. They will send you the new catalog beforehand so that and then you're like, oh my goodness, in 2 weeks we're getting a huge delivery. I need everybody to come in for a couple hours to help out, set up the new display, anything like that, right? They used to give me the mannequins, by the way, because they knew I was a fashion person. So I will always help out with mannequins and things like that and creating outfits. But so Rhoda McFarland, right, the store manager, 42 years old, she calls the other Lane Bryant store and say, hey, are you guys getting a delivery? Because we have a gentleman here saying that there's a delivery for us. And then I guess, after that happened, then everything turned, right? So let me tell you, in that Lane Bryant store, they just opened the doors, right? They just opened the door, and then here comes this guy saying he's a delivery. But they already had like a couple customers in the store. And I can totally understand that. Like I said, working there, I know Saturdays was like a big day for Lane Bryant. We were open like at 9:30 at the mall here, and we will have people waiting outside. It didn't even have to be like a Black Friday day or nothing like that. Just because people. It's a Saturday. I remember all the time we always had people early in the store. It could be people making a return or just regular shopping, whatever, right? But Saturday, from what I remember, Lane Bryant was always like a busy day for us, right? So I'm not surprised that, well, when this happened, that Saturday morning on February the 2nd, 2008, they had people already shopping so early, right? And then here comes the delivery guy, and Rhoda is calling the other store. We're not supposed to get delivery. Like, what are you talking about? It was kind of like strange, and so much so that she took the extra step to actually call and see what are we getting delivered, right? I wonder what this guy say. I wonder what he said that made her call, because I'm sure he said something like bigger than normal delivery for a clothing store. Let me just tell you why. Because if I'm working, if it was me working on a Saturday, and here comes the delivery guy saying I have a delivery, I'll be like, okay, just drop it right there. Let me know where to sign. Like, I wouldn't be so surprised. But I think one piece of uh, of issue that people are missing on this whole story is what type of delivery was it that he said he was delivering? Was he delivering like a store fixtures or something? He probably messed that one up, right? Because like I said, people who work in small stores, they know what's coming beforehand. Nothing is gonna be so surprise to them. Can they deliver one huge batch that maybe they forgot on the last truck? Perhaps, somebody sending a return to the store, okay. But like he probably said, I'm delivering like 3 carts of like store mannequins or something. That made the store manager call the other store and be like, are you guys getting mannequins? Like what's happening? Or whatever, right? So I wonder what that conversation was with the other store manager from the other store that wrote a call, to be like, what did she say when she called you? What type of stuff did she say this guy was delivering? But anyways, they find out that there wasn't really any delivery. This was actually a robbery. And it's so crazy, guys. It is so crazy how a normal day, this is why life is so precious. Life is so fragile. You have to understand that one day we're here, the next day we really don't know. And a lot of people, this is my side note, I have to say it. Don't ever put don't ever think that you're gonna, oh yeah, I'll get right with God when I'm hit my 50s, my 60s. Like life is so fragile. Just like we didn't know when we were gonna be born, we don't know when we're gonna die. So you have to dedicate your life to God, right? This is his creation, and he created us with a purpose, and we don't know when our time is gonna be, right? These people having just a regular day, shopping at a store, working at a store, getting ready for a big sale, and then this guy comes and does what he did, right? So let me just tell you more about it. So after that, what happened was that he basically started tying them up, all of them. They had, let me tell you how many of them were. They had, I believe it was 5 victims, right? It was 5 of them, and like I said, the store manager was also there. And how it was five of them that got shot, right? And I believe 2 of them were customers, right? And the 3 others were staff, and then there was another person who survived, and she's in protective custody because she obviously survived this whole shooting. And it is so crazy because this guy ended up, which is, I'm just gonna say this here, it's so strange to me that this man, I wonder what he said. It's almost like I feel like he has somebody else. Because let me just tell you, how is it that this man is gonna tie up this woman and have them put underwear? That's what the investigator says. They had to put underwear, obviously from the store that they were selling there, on their head, and he was able to tie each one of them and then shoot them in the back of the head one by one. Like, these are 5 women. Like, I wonder, yes, he had a gun, but like, I wonder if he has somebody else. Are we missing something here? And yes, I gotta say though, there is a clip, right, where you hear the store manager. She was such a hero, right? She tried so hard to stop this whole thing that she took that risk, and she was putting a earpiece connected to her phone, and she was able to call police through that. And she called police, and there's a clip where she says, Lane Bryant, Tinley Park, Harry, and she wanted some help. And then the operator for 911 said, hold on one moment. But in that moment you could hear the suspect say, hey, put that down. And he said, oh, you're trying to be the hero now. That's what he said to Rhoda. You're trying to be the hero now. And then he said, put that back over your head. And then you hear him walk off, kind of saying, I'm losing it. And it's like, it makes you wonder. In that moment, I'm sorry, I'm trying to understand this whole thing. 5 ladies, 6 of them, right? 6 of them all together, because one of them survived. In that moment, when he's walking perhaps towards Rhoda to say, put that down, like, I wonder what the other ones were they already like taped up, like things like that. Like it makes you want to question. A lot of the times I understand, people when they're faced with something like this, right? They can be in shock, so much so that they cannot even move. They're terrified what could happen. What did this man say to this lady that you know they were terrified to even take a move or like jump on him or something, right? I can only imagine the things that he said. And I gotta say though, working at Lane Bryant and being such a popular store, right? And like I said, I love my time working at Lane Bryant, all of that. It's kind of like in 2008 for them to not have cameras. It's really sad. It's really sad that they didn't have cameras, and it wasn't like an old store. It was a fairly new store, and you could tell by the outside of it. It looks like it wasn't that long that store was open. um but it's just crazy to me that this happened. um this happened just after 10 a.m. when they opened. They got the call that there was that they heard gunshots around 10:45. The police got a call, and this man, the gunman, was described, says here, as a black man with thick cornrowed hair and a receding hairline, along with one braid lying over the right side of his cheek level and decorated with 4 light green beads on the end. Okay. Let me just tell you before I finish here, guys, the name of the victims. Okay. um it's almost like I said, I totally can relate to this case because I know the Lane Bryant customers. I got to meet them when I worked there for like a couple years, back and forth from school break and season. It was my seasonal job, right? And I know the customer. I know the people that shop there. And I remember, like, I have countless stories, even to this day. I work with them I work at Lane Bryant years ago, right? Even to this day, I still remember some of those customers that will come, and they were always so kind. I don't think, maybe one or two we had issues, and it was just an issue with the coupon, something like that. But the people that shop at Lane Bryant, they were always so kind. And I remember one time I had a person who came, and she's like, I'm going, like, they will tell you stories, like, I'm going on a date, can you help me get a new outfit? Or they'll be like, I saw in this magazine this jacket, do you guys have it? And it was just such a nice place to work. You kind of knew the customers. They will say, oh, you helped me last time I was here, can you help me get another pair of jeans or something like that, right? You kind of knew these customers very well. So here are the names of the people that passed, the 5 ladies that lost their life that day, right? Jennifer Bishop, she was 34 years old, from South Bend, Indiana. Carrie Hudek Chiuso, 33 years old, from Frankfort. And Rhoda McFarland, 42, and she was the store manager, the heroic person who also called the police, trying to get help, trying to be, she was just like, she was so heroic. I can pronounce that word today, but she was such a hero that she knew, as a store manager, she was responsible for the store, right? And for everything that went on the store, right? Whenever there was an issue, I will get my manager, right? So she felt, it's almost like she was on her role as a manager all the way to that minute when she tried to get help. It's like, if somebody's gonna do something, might as well be the store manager, right? And she felt like the need to do that. And it's just so crazy that this happened to all of them, right? And then we also have Sarah Szafranski, 22 years old, of Oak Forest, and Connie Woolfolk, 37, of Flossmoor. Okay, all these 5 ladies, guys, these are all somebody's mom, wife, sister, aunt, friend, they all lost their life. And I can't believe, like I said earlier, I cannot believe with all this technology, I cannot believe that it's going to be 15 years this February coming up in 2023 that we don't have the person behind bars. Okay, it is crazy to me that this person hasn't been caught yet, that this didn't happen in a little store back in the mountains behind a tree. Like, this happened in a strip mall where they have Michael's across the way, right, on a Saturday. Have you ever gone to a Michael's on a Saturday? It's crazy. The parking lot is insane. How can we don't have somebody say, hey, yeah, I saw a man running and he got into this type of vehicle? Like, there's nobody saying any of that. I saw, I was going to the store next to Lane Bryant, and I heard, I saw this man leaving. When I heard gunshots, I came out to look and I saw this man leaving. There's nobody talking. This is insane that it's been that long. Somebody out there knows this. This is why I wanted to speak about it. Somebody knows what happened. Okay, and I don't understand, even to the suspect, right? I don't understand how you think you got away with this. I don't understand how you think you got away with this and you patting yourself in the back. Don't you know that one day it's gonna be you're gonna face God, and you're gonna be held accountable for all of this and everything that you did that day? This is crazy to me that a person decided on that day to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to this Lane Bryant and do this thing. And then, because he hasn't been caught yet, he's thinking that he got away with something, and he cheated out the police and the investigators and everybody. One day you're gonna face God and you're gonna know. Okay? And it's like, just because you think you got away, that's the thing people these days, they think they can get away with everything. God sees everything. And, like, it's so crazy. So I'm going to post a photo of him, right, this suspect. And please take a good look at it, okay? We need to find a resolution for this. We owe it to the families, everybody affected by this. It's just crazy, guys. Thank you so much for listening and watching this video. God bless everybody.
911 emergency. No! Something to do, huh? What is that? Get up here. I'm looking at foolishness. Right?
Hi everybody, this is Julissa. I'm here to invite you to my podcast, JulissaDesigns, and it can be found on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You can join me every day as I make episodes of the latest news, real life stories, and I also share my favorite Bible verse. Hope to see you then. God bless. For coming back to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe and share this video, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a great day everybody. God bless.